Okay, so I already put a bunch of this stuff already on here so that you wouldn't have to write it out again. So example 1, a researcher claims that less than 40% of US cell phone owners use their phone for most of their online browsing. In a random sample of 100 adults, 31% say that they use their phone for most of their online browsing. At alpha equals 0.01, is there enough evidence to support this researcher's claim? All right, first thing you have to do is you have to verify you can do the problem. The P in this case is what your claim is. So everybody write down P is 0.31. What would Q be then?
0.69.
0.69. So NP and NQ both have to be bigger than 5. Is 31% of 100 bigger than 5? Yes. And shame on you if you don't know that off the top of your head, because 31% of 100 is 31. I'm really hoping that in AP Stats we're okay with that. All right, state the null and alternative hypothesis. H sub O, H sub A. Their claim is that the proportion of adults that use, say, cell phones for online browsing, oh, this is wrong. Change this to P hat and Q hat. That's our test sample. The P and the Q is actually what we say, our claim, which is 0.4 and 0.6. So the thing that you have to test to see if it's bigger than or equal to 5 is your claim, not your results. So I'm going to write here, this is the claim, and this is like when you do your test. This is your results. So for Georgia, her claim was 75%, right?
Yes.
And like suppose she finds out that 100% of people or 95% of people tie their shoes the way she thinks, then that would be over here on the P hat, Q hat side, that 95 or 100, and over here would be her claim. Okay, so the null and alternative hypothesis is less than 40%. All right, less than 40%, where should I put that? The H sub O or H sub A?
H sub A.
H sub A, so that's P is less than 0.4. That's the claim. And then P is greater than or equal to 0.4 is the other one. They're both 0.4. They're not 0.6. Okay, now I'm going to sketch and determine the rejection regions. Draw a quick little bell curve. This is a left-tailed test. Alpha equals 0.01. So if you look at that A16, A17 page, on the left side, 0.01. So we're looking at 0.01 in the middle of the table, which would be negative 2.33 for a z-score. The formula for the test statistic, so you know how normally it's x minus mu over sigma, right? So this one is p hat minus p over the square root of pq divided by n. All right, so let's write it out. What's p hat in this case? 0.31, and it's definitely less than 40%, but is it low enough? Divided by the square root. For PQ, what should I write?
0.4 times 0.6.
It's not the 0.31 and 0.69, it's 0.4 and 0.6 divided by n, what was that, 100? Put that in your calculator, make sure there's parentheses across the top. I got negative 1.84. Did you guys get the same thing? Okay. So negative 1.84 falls like here. Remember, anything less would be to the left of that center spot. It's not far enough for us to say, okay, it's always less. It's just not far enough. So we're going to first accept or reject the null. And since it's fell in the null, I'm going to accept the null. And what about the claim?
Reject it.
And reject the claim that less than 40% of cell phone owners, etc. You do not need to finish the whole sentence, but you definitely need to finish the whole sentence if you're on the AP test. All right. I want you to try example number 2 with your partner, and then we're going to go over how to do this. So sit with your partner from yesterday. Who is my final person? So you get to choose.
I usually jot some on the folder.
Yeah.
Well, let's be big all kinds.
You need a marker.
Our group functions by doing it, and then all of us being like, hey, we all got the same answer, right? Okay.
Okay, actually, can I change my mind about how we're doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to teach you 4 different ways to do this. Luckily, on the AP test, besides having to know rejection regions and p-values, you can also use a calculator, right? Okay, so we just did this by hand. I'm going to write by hand with rejection regions. The first one we did by hand with rejection regions. And by hand doesn't mean that I did this stuff, this formula in my head. I just mean I didn't use the hypothesis test function on the calculator. Okay. So what I want you to do with your group right now is I want you to try to do this with the hypothesis test thing on your calculator. So right now with your group, why don't you write out the null and alternative hypothesis on your paper? Decide whether it's a left-tailed, right-tailed, or two-tailed test, and determine the rejection region, and then I'll step in. This means talking to each other. H sub O, H sub A.
Yes.
Pretty sure it has more than 30 seconds.